Hey, Dave here, and this is the June 2021 episode of Built From Scratch. So, starting with the figures, as always, this month's income has been £0 as ever. Although having said that, this is almost certainly the last month where that's going to be the case. Or at least if we take income to mean revenue, because that is certainly going to go up for reasons that I'll talk about in a minute. However, if we talk about profitability, the bottom line, that could go anywhere. Could go up a bit, could stay flat, by flat I mean zero, or potentially it could even go into a negative figure, which would be hilarious and horrific in equal measure. Well, actually, maybe more horrific than hilarious, actually. This month, traffic has been 18 sessions on the .site and 4 sessions on the .co.uk, so absolutely nothing. And I think that probably confirms that when 3 or 4 months ago, when I was getting at least sessions in the sort of tens of people, that was probably almost all me, actually. Whereas this month, I've just barely been on the site at all. But that's fine. That really doesn't bother me at all, because I just haven't started working on that side of things yet. In fact, the slightly more meaningful number there is that I checked the how many pages are indexed on the .site the other day, and that is now up to, I think it was 50, which is decent. It means that at least Google is seeing most of what I've done. I should have turned these screens off. Hang on. Oh, whatever. Let's just get on with it. Yes, so they're seeing what I've done, which means that when I do get round to getting a few links and doing a little bit of general kind of PR work, the scene is set for some progress to be made. Okay, so, as ever, all the technicalities of the work I've done this month are covered in Diary of an Entrepreneur. Here I'm going to talk in broader terms about what I've been up to. And this month that begins with progress with the China situation. So, short story, there's been a whole bunch more back and forth, as there always is. I went with the option of getting the freight handled, of going air freight essentially, rather than shipping, because shipping is just ridiculously expensive. I can't remember if I covered the actual amounts last month, but in brief, sea freight was going to be around £1,000, air freight was going to be about £1,300. Well, I ended up getting the actual fixed quote for air freight, because the quotes only last for 2 or 3 days, so you have to get one when you're pretty much ready to book it, and that ended up coming in at about, I think it was 1,180, so actually a decrease. So that was definitely the right decision. And literally just this morning, I got a photo from CC in China of the boxes loaded onto the back of a truck, so they will be here in the not too distant future. Having said that, the shippers, the shipping company, have already told me that Air China, I think is the name of the company, are having some issues because there are a few COVID outbreaks in China at the moment, so they've temporarily suspended flights. I was told that 2 or 3 days ago. I don't know if I should interpret the fact that they've now loaded the stuff onto a truck to mean that flights are back on, or it might be that they were always going to do that and they're now going to sit in some warehouse near an airport until the planes start flying again. But the delay was only meant to be 3 or 4 days there anyway, so that's not the end of the world, even in the worst case scenario. And then the other thing that I don't know is, I assume when they get dropped in the UK, they probably go to some kind of customs warehouse whilst they figure out if they need to be checked, or at the very least I assume they have to have a quick look at the paperwork. So that must take some amount of time, but I'm so clueless at this stuff, I don't know whether it might be like a few hours or like a few days or potentially even weeks. So we'll see, but I'm kind of expecting them, in theory, in the next week or so. And then it's just going to be a case of doing what I need to do to get them actually available online, which the optimist in me hopes won't be too much. I need to put WooCommerce on the site, but I'm going to try as hard as I possibly can to do that in a sort of minimum viable product way and not waste too much time. So it might not take ages. But I'll come back to that in a minute, because there's one other relevant thing I've done this month that has some kind of input on that. Yes, so moving on. The second major thing I've done this month is that I have made my single product review videos for projector stands. I'm almost done with that now. As is always the case with videos, it took me an awful long time to just kind of iterate my way through the first few goes, which weren't very good. I'm now at a point where I've got my process documented. It's producing reasonable quality videos, I would say, and I've now done the 6 that I'm going to be doing initially. 3 of which are actually edited and put together, 3 of which I've just got the raw footage, and I need to spend, it's probably going to take me about another day or so just to edit them together. So that's the single product reviews done. What I decided to, one of the initial stages I was doing with the videos was to film them as roundup reviews, so comparing 3 products or whatever. In this case it was 3 products, and then once that was done, I was then going to split them apart and use them as single product reviews, basically just change the title and put a third of the video in. Just for that, you know, the hope of a little bit of extra traffic without spending any more time creating extra content. Knowing that if people found their way to the content, it would be a bit obvious that it was just like a chopped up roundup review, but you know, that might be good enough for them or whatever. But as is often the case with me, once I'd done that, I then sat back and looked at the quality and looked at what I was trying to achieve, and basically decided that wasn't going to be good enough, and that I would actually want to make like purpose-made single product reviews, and then take those products and make a purpose-made roundup review. I also added in extra sections of what I wanted to talk about within the videos, so it's all taken quite a while, but I'm kind of now on top of it. So if I end up doing some more of that in the future, I'll be able to get through it quite a bit faster. And I think the product is decent. Time will tell what other people think. So just to quickly talk about what I've actually done in those videos, I've got a intro section which I bought off People Per Hour for £20, so that was quite a bargain, and obviously it looks professional, it kicks off things in a good way. I then have my own little sort of text title cards for the sections of each video, which are first of all I do a sort of generic introduction which can just be pasted into every video. I then have an overview of the product, questions and answers on Amazon, which is where I'm sure most people will have used Amazon and seen that there is a questions and answers section, so I use that to inform part of the review, obviously particularly looking for questions that I think are pertinent based on my experience of testing the product. I then look at the 1, 2 and 3 star reviews and pick out any trends there and talk about it to see if I can identify any issues with the product, and then I do the same but with positive reviews, looking for anything that lots of people are saying is particularly good about this product. I then do core competencies, where I have just identified, in the case of projector stands, 4 things that I think are particularly important about them, so I run through each of those. Often at this point they've kind of been covered already, so I just briefly run through a summary kind of thing. I then do a conclusion, and at that point I also film an executive summary, which is like an ultra brief conclusion, which I then in editing tack onto the very start of the video, and then I've just done a generic end of video saying here are the links, basically. So I'm quite looking forward to posting them up on the site and seeing if they end up getting a little bit of traffic. It'll also be fun watching what happens in YouTube, because I'm going to use YouTube as the hosting platform, and they might get a few views there, and who knows, maybe a little bit of traffic will filter through to the site. And that's about all there is to say about that. It has taken up a lot of time. I really have, I think, learned now, it will forever be in my head that creating video is a seriously time-consuming process, and it needs to show some kind of return on investment, or well, you need to be aiming for some kind of ROI on that. I will no longer be doing any part of any project that just involves creating video for the fun of it, or in the hope that it might achieve something. This is kind of the last time I'm doing that. From now on, it's going to be hopefully more of a measured thing. And with that said, once I've wrapped up this section of content creation around the reviews, which is going to take some days more work because I still have to make the roundup review videos, and then I have to put the pages together on the site, which is going to involve some version of some kind of a written version of what I've got in the videos. But once that's done, that's actually going to be the end of content creation for a while. I'm then going to be moving on to a combination of trying to get some link building done, but probably at the same time setting up the e-commerce operation. And I think there I'm literally going to try and kind of split my day, a morning of sort of link building / digital PR type attempts, an afternoon of setting up and then conducting e-commerce type things. Which brings me on to the third thing that I've been doing this month, which has ended up taking a bit more time than I wanted it to. So the background of this is, when I get these stands in, when I've got my e-commerce side of things set up, I'm going to need to run Google ads to it. And whilst I've never done it before, I'm aware of the fact that there is the shopping element of Google ads these days, which allows you to get in that carousel of very obvious things you can buy at the top of most SERPs that are to do with buying a product. So I want to do that. I don't just want to rely on doing text ads. I think shopping, I assume, probably gets really quite good results. So I definitely want to try it. I was thinking that I would wait till I get the products through from China, get WooCommerce up on the site, and then get into Google Shopping ads. But I'm getting kind of itchy feet about it, partly because it's quite a big thing and I just want to have a go at it sooner rather than later, but also specifically because now that I'm kind of running out of the money that I've got spare for doing this, I'm seriously thinking about what job I might get for the foreseeable future, basically. And what I think I want that job to be is getting involved in paid ads. It kind of makes sense because of my background in digital marketing and the fact that I've done some PPC stuff in the past. So I'm not starting from nothing, and I just quite like it. I think it suits me, and it's an area of expertise that I can get into relatively quickly, and it will have a significant side benefit of helping me with Wave. But before I apply for jobs, I've got sort of two options. I could apply for jobs and just say I'm basically applying for a completely junior position. I've got some contextual knowledge and I know a bit about PPC, but really very little. Or I could try and ramp up my knowledge as quick as I can to get to the point where I could apply for more like a sort of standard mid-range PPC executive type position. And I'm not going to be overselling myself in any interviews. I'm going to make it quite clear that I've got limited understanding of stuff like shopping ads, but I would really like it if I could go into interviews saying I have done this. In fact, I'm doing it currently, so I'm kind of up on this sort of thing. So I wanted to find a way of doing that quickly, and I therefore what was it? I had a day that was free for some reason. A week and a half ago, I had a day where I just had very little to do. Oh, it was because I was waiting for products to come through for the reviews. So I just thought, in this day that I've got very little useful stuff I can do, is there a way I could have a go at practicing shopping ads like today? And I figured the way to do that, well, Oh my gosh. I was looking at Google Ads certification, so I got into that and started doing a bit of it. But just learning, sort of dry academic learning like that, it's quite boring, and more importantly, it's just not a very good way of learning. I think most people, learn way better when I'm actually doing a thing. So I thought, is there a way I can very quickly get to the point where I will be doing it for real, even if the thing that I'm doing the adverts for is not going to make me money? You know, it's just, it needs to be real world, but I don't care if it's performance or not. I just need to be able to fire real adverts at a real thing. So I thought, how about if you set up a dropshipping site? I know, based on, just stuff I know about kind of setting up online businesses. I know about, the simplicity and efficiency of using Shopify. I know that there are dropshipping platforms out there that do quite a lot of the work for you. And essentially I decided I'd do a 1-day challenge to see if I could set up a dropshipping Shopify site that could actually take payments and that I could direct some Google shopping ads at. So I did that, and at the end of the day's work, I had most of those steps done. I was about ready to start the shopping ads. But then I fell into this horrific black hole of a Google Merchant Center account suspension, which I'm not going to talk about the details here because that's not what this is about. The only reason I'm telling you this stuff at all is because it's pertinent to Wave because of the shopping ads thing. But suffice it to say, that was about a week ago, and I've spent probably on average about an hour a day since then trying to get this account suspension lifted. So it's taken up more of my time than it was meant to. However, that probably still only adds up to about 13 or 14 hours work at the moment, and I think I've cracked it. I think by Monday they're going to have lifted the account suspension, and then I will be able to get on with testing shopping ads, and that will still be ahead of when I could possibly have got the stands from China, set up WooCommerce and done it using that. So that'll still be a win if I get there sometime early next week. And then it will be great setting it up for Wave, knowing that I'm already to some degree on top of how to do that sort of thing. And it also makes me think that hang on a second, that I was thinking that setting up shopping ads for Wave was going to be as simple as going into my Google Ads account and just selecting a shopping campaign and going for it. I'm now aware of the fact that Google needs to be able to get the product information into the shopping ads. And as far, I think, with my newfound knowledge about Google Merchant Center, I think it is Merchant Center is the way you do that. I don't think it's possible to put product information directly into Google Ads. So it's useful that I'm practicing with Merchant Center, and I think the account suspension thing may actually now be a necessary job to get that sorted in case it knocks on to giving me account problems when I set up an account for Wave. And that may sound a bit random, but a conversation I've had with Google support today about the account suspension makes me think it is possible that if this account is suspended, if I try and set up even an entirely different account for Wave, if I'm using some of the same details, it's possible that I would just get an account suspension there as well. So I'm going to get that sorted, and hopefully it'll all start coming together next week. So I think that's going to be it for this month. It feels like it's been quite a lot of, I don't know. I feel like I've made quite a lot of progress in a sense. I feel like I've definitely done quite a lot of work. It's just been in some kind of weird directions. But I really think there's a good chance some of it is going to coalesce next month into something a bit more obviously worthwhile, and it's going to feel like the business is actually taking some steps forward rather than me taking some steps forward to try and make the business move forward. So that's exciting. Just to mention the money situation again. things are definitely getting quite tight, but I think working purely on this for July at least is not a problem. So I've definitely got that to go, and I'm hoping that by the end of July, enough of these things with selling the stands and possibly making some useful progress with the dropshipping thing will have, well, you never know. In the best of all possible worlds, they might have gone so well they actually, oh, I don't even dare say it. If they generated a little bit of income, obviously that could extend the runway for doing this, but I'm not really hoping for that. And in fact, because of the ongoing issues with international shipping, not only am I not really expecting to make any money off Wave in the next month or two, I'm also thinking it's probably not going to be possible to make any money off it until sometime next year, because the industry commentators are saying that due to the way long-term contracts work and just the depth of the problem with the undersupply of shipping containers, they don't really see prices coming down much before next year. So you never know, is what I'm trying to say. You never know where I might be for sort of money and progress in a couple of months, but I'm 90% sure it's going to be I'm stuck and I have to go and get a job. But what I am trying to say is for the next sort of month or maybe 2 months, for definite, I'm still good to go. So we'll see how I get on. All right, that is that. I'll see you later.